Hello everyone. Tonight we begin with a parched wind clawing through your chest, carrying the scent of baked earth and scorched resin. You stand atop a mound of cracked clay, bare feet gripping the crumbling bricks, eyes stinging from the smoke of distant kills. Below, the city of Harappa sprawls like a dream half forgotten. Its streets ruler straight, its windowless mud brick houses squat and unyielding. And somewhere, the faint trickle of water from a channel you can't quite see. You're no ordinary soul. You're a priest king, chosen to stand between gods and men, between sky and soil. But right now, as the sun sinks, red as dried blood, a cold truth slithers up your spine. You don't belong here. One day, and you'd crumble. Where are you watching from? What time is it where you are? Drop a comment. I'd love to know who's curled up in blankets with me each night. Your first night in Harappa. Sleep is a stranger. How could you rest when the air hums with a tang of charcoal and spice? When whispers of unseen figures echo from shadowed alleys? They lead you to a small room in the central citadel. Its brick walls so thick you feel entombed. A man waits there gaunt, his eyes like twin wells with no bottom. He wears a white cloth wrapped around his waist, a red sash slung over his shoulder, embroidered with strange bulls, their horns curved like crescent moons. He doesn't give his name, only bows and sets before you a bronze tray etched with symbols, angular, sharp lines that mean nothing to you, yet seem to pulse with secrets they won't share. You must learn them, he murmurs, his voice rasping like dry leaves. Or the gods won't hear you. You want to ask which gods, but his gaze traps the words in your throat. The room has no bed, just a coarse mat woven from hemp, hard as stone. You sit, the fibers scraping your skin like 1,000 tiny needles. The man doesn't leave. He speaks of tomorrow's ritual. One you, the newly chosen priest king, must perform before dawn. You'll descend to the great bath, a vast pool carved deep into the earth, and cleanse yourself before hundreds of eyes. The water will judge you, he says, lips pressed tight. If you're not pure, it will claim you. You smirk, thinking it's just a metaphor, like the deadline will bury you back in your modern world. But as he turns to go, the flicker of an oil lamp catches his face, revealing a scar slicing from forehead to chin, as if someone once tried to cleave him in two. You don't ask. When he's gone, you lie on the mat, trying to close your eyes. But the darkness here isn't like any you've known. It breathes, it shifts. You hear insects skittering in the corners, water dripping from some unseen crack, and another sound, low, rhythmic, like chanting from a great distance. You wonder if you're imagining it. In your world, you'd grab your phone, scroll through feeds to drown the unease. Here, there's no screen, no signal, just you and the muttering dark. You try to summon familiar things, your desk, morning coffee, the hum of office complaints, but they dissolve like mist. Harappa doesn't let you escape. Deep in the night, you jolt awake, a cold hand grazing your shoulder. No one's there. Only a gust from nowhere, carrying a strange scent, sweet like honey, but laced with the coppery tang of blood. You stand, heart hammering, and notice a drawing on the wall that wasn't there before. A bull, like the one on the man's sash, but its eyes are painted red, glowing under the lamp's faint light. You touch it, and the wall is ice cold, as if it's drinking the warmth from your fingers. This is the first symbol you meet, and it doesn't welcome you. It watches, judges, as if it knows you're an outsider. Before dawn, they lead you to the great bath. The brick-paved path is smooth underfoot, but each step feels heavy, like the earth is tugging you down. A crowd has gathered, eerily silent. They wear white cloth, heads draped in scarves, and none meet your eyes. You feel their gazes on your skin, sharp as unseen arrows. The great bath looms ahead, a massive pool framed by stone steps, so deep you can't see its floor. The water is clear, but wrong, too still, not a ripple, like a giant mirror reflecting the gray sky. The scarred man stands beside you, handing you a bronze vial of scented oil. Pour it into the water, he says. Then step in. You obey, hands trembling. The oil spreads across the surface, shimmering in iridescent rings, but it vanishes quickly, as if the water devoured it. You shed the cloth wrapped around you, the cold air biting your skin. The crowd stays silent, but you hear whispers, not from them, but from the pool itself. It speaks your name, though you've told it to no one. You step onto the first stair, the water, so cold you nearly scream. The second, the third, and then you freeze. Something's down there, a shadowy shape, not your reflection. It moves, slow and deliberate, like a massive fish gliding in the dark. The scarred man watches, his eyes sharp as blades. Go on, he says. But you can't. You feel it, the thing in the water. Waiting. If you descend, it will drag you under, and no one will remember you existed. You stand there, caught between life and death, obedience and flight. The crowd begins to murmur, their voices blending with the waters, forming a chilling chorus. You must choose. Step down to face whatever waits, or turn back and become a traitor in their eyes. But what does betrayal matter? You don't belong here. You don't want to die for a ritual you don't understand. You turn to the scarred man. He says nothing, but a smile curls his lips, sending a shiver through you. Day one, he whispers, and you've already failed. You want to argue, to scream that you're not the priest king, that this is all a mad dream. But when you open your mouth, no sound comes. The crowd disperses, leaving you alone by the pool. The shape in the water lingers, watching, waiting. And you know, tonight, as you lie on that prickly mat, it will draw closer. The sun claws its way above Harappa, painting the brick city in shades of rust and gold. But its warmth doesn't reach you. You stand in the shadow of the citadel, the taste of dust thick on your tongue, your bare shoulders prickling from the morning chill. Last night's failure at the great bath clings to you like damp cloth, the memory of that shadow in the water, the scarred man's mocking smile. You didn't sleep. The bull's red eyes on the wall watched you through the dark, and every creak of the citadel felt like footsteps circling closer. Now they've summoned you to the granary, a hulking structure that looms like a fortress at the city's edge. The air hums with the rhythmic thud of pestles and the sharp scent of barley being ground into flour. You're the priest king, they say, but you feel more like a guest who's overstayed their welcome. Every glance from the workers carrying a silent question. What are you doing here? A woman approaches, her stride purposeful, her arms dusted with flour up to the elbows. She's older than you, her face lined like the cracked earth outside the city, but her eyes are sharp, unyielding, like obsidian polished to a gleam. She wears a skirt of woven cotton dyed indigo, and around her neck hangs a necklace of carnelian beads, each one carved with a tiny spiral that seems to spin when you stare too long. She doesn't bow, doesn't lower her gaze. You're late, she says, her voice low, cutting through the granary's din like a knife. She doesn't wait for an explanation, turning on her heel and motioning you to follow. You hesitate, your feet heavy on the packed earth floor, but her impatience pulls you forward like a tether. She leads you through rows of towering clay bins, each filled with grain that spills over the edges, glinting in the slanted light. Workers move in silence, their hands swift as they sift and measure, their faces hidden behind scarves to keep out the dust. You catch the faint clink of bronze weights, the rustle of palm leaf ledgers being marked with those same angular symbols you saw last night. This is no mere storehouse. It's the city's heart, pumping sustenance to thousands. The woman stops at a low platform where a single clay seal lies, its surface etched with the image of a unicorn, its horn spiraling into a point that seems to pierce the air. "Touch it," she says, not a request, but a command. You reach out, your fingers grazing the cool clay, and for a moment, you swear the unicorn's eye flicks toward you, alive, accusing. "This seal is your voice," she says, stepping closer, her breath warm against your cheek. "It binds the grain to the gods, the city to the river. Without it, we starve." You nod, unsure, your modern mind scrambling to equate this to something familiar, spreadsheets, supply chains, the ping of a delivery app. But her gaze pins you in place, and you realize this isn't about logistics. It's about power. The priest-king's seal is law, and you're holding it, an outsider who couldn't even face the great bath. She points to a stack of clay tablets nearby, each stamped with the unicorn's image. "Today you approve the distribution," she says. "Choose who eats and who doesn't." Your stomach twists. The weight of her words lands like a stone. You're not just a figurehead. You're expected to decide who lives, who thrives, who withers. You glance at the workers, their hands never pausing, their eyes never meeting yours. How can you choose? You don't know these people, their names, their stories. In your world, you dodge this with a vague email or a quick scroll past bad news. Here, there's no screen to hide behind. The woman watches you, her necklace glinting like a warning. "The gods chose you," she says, but her tone carries a barb, as if she knows you're a fraud. Or so they say. You're led to a shaded corner where a low table waits, piled with tablets inscribed with numbers and symbols. A young scribe, barely more than a boy, kneels beside it, his fingers stained with charcoal. He looks up and you flinch. His left eye is clouded, milky white, like a moon trapped in a skull. He doesn't speak, just hands you a stylus and points to the tablets. You're supposed to mark them, to allocate grain to different quarters of the city, but the symbols swim before your eyes, incomprehensible. The woman looms behind you, her presence a pressure against your spine. "The northern quarter has been shorted for weeks," she says. "They're restless. The southern quarter has ties to the priests. They'll expect favor. Choose." You grip the stylus, its wooden shaft slick with your sweat. The northern quarter, restless, possibly rebellious. The southern quarter, connected, powerful. You don't know what these places look like, who lives there, whether they're families or warriors or priests. The boy's clouded eye seems to bore into you, and you wonder if he's judging you too, or if he's just waiting for you to fail. You think of the scarred man from last night, his words. Day 1, and you've already failed. You can't fail again. But what does failure mean here? Starving one group to placate another? Or refusing to choose, risking the wrath of both? The air grows heavier, the scent of grain mixing with something sharper. Sweat, fear, maybe your own. You glance at the unicorn seal, its spiral horn gleaming under a stray beam of light. It's a symbol of order, of divine authority, but it feels like a chain around your neck. You want to ask the woman for guidance, but her face is unreadable, her arms crossed, the carnelian beads clicking softly as she shifts. You realize she's not here to help. She's here to witness. The boy shifts, his fingers twitching as if eager to take the stylus from you. You wonder who he is, why he's here, whether that clouded eye sees something you don't. You make a mark on a tablet, a clumsy slash that feels wrong the moment it's done. The boy's lips tighten, but he says nothing, moving the tablet to a stack on his left. You mark another, then another. Your choice is random, driven by panic rather than reason. The woman's silence is deafening, her beads clicking like a countdown. You're not choosing who eats, you're choosing who suffers. The northern quarter, the southern quarter, the artisans, the laborers, every mark feels like a betrayal. You think of the thing in the great bath, its shadow, waiting. Is this what it judges? Not your purity, but your choices? Hours pass, or maybe minutes. Time in her rappa bends like heated clay. Your hand aches, your eyes burn from the dust. The pile of tablets dwindles, but the weight on your chest grows. The woman finally speaks, her voice softer now, almost pitying. "You fed the priests," she says. "The northern quarter will go hungry again." You freeze, the stylus slipping from your fingers. You didn't mean to favor anyone. You didn't understand the symbols, the stakes. You open your mouth to protest, but she raises a hand. "The gods see everything," she says. And for the first time, you notice a tattoo on her wrist, a spiral, like the ones on her beads, like the unicorn's horn. It seems to pulse alive, and you feel a chill, as if the gods are indeed watching. Their gaze is cold as the water in the great bath. The boy gathers the tablets, his movements swift, mechanical. You want to ask him what happens next, what your choices mean, but his clouded eye meets yours, and you swallow the words. He's not just a scribe, you realize. There's something ancient in him, something that doesn't belong to this moment. The woman turns to leave, her skirt brushing the floor, leaving a faint trail of flour. "Tomorrow, you face the northern quarter," she says over her shoulder. "Pray they forgive you." Her words hang in the air, heavy as the dust, and you're alone again, the unicorn seal staring up at you, its eye unblinking. You stumble back to the citadel as the sun climbs higher, the city alive with the clatter of carts and the shouts of traders. Your head throbs, your mouth dry as the bricks beneath your feet. You chose wrong, and you don't even know how badly. The northern quarter, restless, hungry. Will they come for you? Will the gods? You think of the woman's tattoo, the boy's eye, the unicorn spiral. They're all connected, part of something vast and unyielding, something that sees you as a speck, a fleeting mistake. You want to run, to find a way back to your world of screens and noise, but Harappa's walls close around you. Its streets a labyrinth with no exit. Night falls, and you're back in your room, the hemp mat digging into your back. The bull on the wall is still there, its red eyes brighter now. Or maybe that's just your fear. You hear the distant chant again, closer this time, weaving through the citadel's walls. The air smells of honey and blood, and you know, as you lie there, that the northern quarter's hunger is coming for you, just as the shadow in the water did. You close your eyes, but sleep won't come. Harappa doesn't forgive. The dawn air bites your skin as you're hustled through Harappa's narrow streets, the city still half asleep under a veil of mist. Your breath catches, sharp with the scent of wet clay and something sour, like milk left too long in the heat. Yesterday's failure at the granary weighs on you. The woman's parting words, the spiral tattoo pulsing on her wrist, the silent judgment of the scribe's clouded eye. You marked those tablets blindly, and now the northern quarter, hungry and restless, waits for you. Your bare feet slap against the cool bricks, each step echoing in the quiet. And the two guards flanking you say nothing. Their bronze-tipped spears glint faintly, and you wonder if they're here to protect you or to ensure you don't run. You're the priest king, but the title feels like a noose, tightening with every mistake. They lead you to a low, sprawling structure at the city's northern edge, its walls stained with soot and time. The air grows thicker here, heavy with the stench of sweat and unwashed wool. A crowd has already gathered, their murmurs rising like a swarm of insects. You see them now, men with gaunt faces, women clutching children whose ribs press against their skin, elders leaning on sticks, their eyes hard as flint. These are the people you starved, or so the woman claimed. You want to explain, to say you didn't know, that the symbols were a mystery, but their stares choke the words before they form. You're not in your world anymore, where a quick apology or a forwarded email could smooth things over. Here, your choices carve wounds. A figure steps forward from the crowd, a man draped in a coarse brown cloak, his hair matted with dust. He's younger than you expected, barely past 20, but his posture carries the weight of someone much older. His left hand is missing 2 fingers, the stubs scarred and blackened, as if burned long ago. He doesn't bow, doesn't flinch under your gaze. You fed the priests, he says, his voice steady but laced with venom. You gave them our grain. The crowd stirs, their murmurs sharpening into something dangerous. You open your mouth, but he raises his maimed hand, silencing you. Today, you walk with us, he says. You see what you've done. The guards step back, their spears lowering, and you realize they're not here for you. They're here for him. The man turns and the crowd parts, revealing a path that leads beyond the city walls. You follow, your heart pounding, the cold bricks giving way to packed earth that clings to your soles. The northern quarter isn't just a district. It's a sprawl of makeshift huts and tents, a world apart from Harappa's orderly streets. The air here is raw, thick with the smell of dung fires and rotting straw. You pass women pounding grain with stones, their hands cracked and bleeding, and children who don't laugh or run, only watch you with hollow eyes. You feel their hunger, not just in their bodies, but in the way the land itself seems to groan beneath you, dry and unyielding. The man leads you to a small shrine, little more than a mound of bricks, topped with a crude stone figure. It's a woman, or something like her, with wide hips and a featureless face, her arms raised as if cradling the sky. Offerings lie at her base, wilted flowers, a broken clay cup, a few grains of barley scattered like an afterthought. This is our mother, the man says, kneeling briefly before the statue. She gives life, but you've taken it. You stare at the figure, its blank face somehow more accusing than the crowd's glares. It's a symbol, like the bull on your wall or the unicorn seal, but this one feels alive, its presence pressing against your chest. You want to ask what she represents, but the man's scarred hand gestures you onward, and you know questions won't help. He takes you to a cluster of tents, their patched fabric flapping in the wind. Inside one, a woman lies on a mat, her breath shallow, her skin gray as ash. A child sits beside her, humming softly, her tiny hands smoothing the woman's hair. The man kneels, his voice softening. Her name is Lilitu, he says. She worked the kills until the smoke took her lungs. Your grain could have bought her medicine. You flinch, the weight of his words sharper than any spear. You didn't know. You didn't choose this. But the man's eyes, dark and unyielding, tell you that ignorance is no excuse. The child looks up, her humming stopping, and you see her mother's face in hers, pale, fading, a mirror of what's to come. You want to run, to flee back to the citadel's thick walls, but the man's presence holds you. He leads you through more tents, each one a story of want. A potter who can't afford clay, his hands idle for the first time in years. An old man who gave a share to his grandchildren, his body curling inward like a dried leaf. Everywhere, the same refrain. The grain went to the priests, to the southern quarter, to those who already had enough. You think of the woman from the granary, her spiral tattoo, her cold certainty. Did she know this would happen? Did she set you up to fail? The sun climbs higher, its heat pressing down like a judgment. Your throat burns, but no one offers water. The man stops at a dry riverbed, its cracked bed stretching toward the horizon. This was our lifeline, he says, kicking at the dust. The river moved, and the priest said it was the God's will. Now we dig for water, and you decide who drinks. He points to a group of men in the distance, their backs bent as they scrape at the earth with wooden tools. You see the desperation in their movements, the way the ground resists them. You're supposed to bless their work, to pray to the Mother Goddess for water, but the words feel hollow before you even speak them. The man hands you a small clay disc, etched with a spiral like the one on the woman's necklace. Offer it, he says, nodding toward the shrine you passed earlier. Prove you're one of us. You take the disc, its edges rough against your palm, and your mind races. This is a test, but not the kind you can bluff your way through. If you offer the disc, you align yourself with these people, against the priests, against the city's order. If you refuse, you mark yourself as their enemy. And this crowd doesn't forgive. You think of the thing in the great bath, the bull's red eyes, the unicorn seal. They're all watching, all waiting for you to choose. But what choice is there when every path leads to betrayal? You walk back to the shrine, the crowd following, their silence heavier than their earlier murmurs. The stone goddess looms larger now, her blank face a void that swallows your courage. You kneel, the disc trembling in your hands, and place it at her base. The crowd exhales, a sound like wind through reeds, but the man's expression doesn't change. It's not enough, he says softly. You can't undo what's done. You want to scream, to demand what he expects, but his maimed hand rests on your shoulder, and the weight of it silences you. Tonight, he says, we'll come to the citadel. Be ready. He turns away, and the crowd disperses, leaving you alone by the shrine. The goddess's shadow stretches long across the ground, her arms seeming to reach for you. You stand, your legs unsteady, and make your way back to the city. The guards reappear, their spears at the ready, but they don't speak. The streets feel tighter now, the walls closer, as if Harappa itself is shrinking around you. You think of Lilitu, her shallow breaths, the child's humming. You think of the dry riverbed, the men digging for a miracle. You think of the man's words, we'll come to the citadel, and your blood runs cold. Back in your room, the hemp mat is no comfort. The bull on the wall seems to breathe, its red eyes pulsing with the flicker of the oil lamp. The air carries that same honey and blood scent, stronger now, and the distant chanting is louder, closer, weaving through the citadel's corridors. You lie down, but your mind won't rest. The northern quarter is coming, and you don't know if they want justice or blood. You don't know if the goddess heard your offering or spat it back. You don't know if you're the priest king or just a fool who stumbled into a nightmare. The spiral disc's weight lingers in your hand, though you left it behind. Harappa watches, and you feel its gaze unblinking as the night deepens. Twilight drapes Harappa in a bruised purple haze, the air thick with the musk of damp earth and smoldering wood. You stand at the edge of the citadel's highest platform, your hands gripping the rough brick parapet, the city sprawling below like a beast holding its breath. The northern quarter's threat will come to the citadel, burns in your mind, sharper than the cold wind slicing through your thin linen wrap. You can still feel the weight of the spiral disc you offered to the blank-faced goddess, the sting of the man's words. It's not enough. Your choices, fumbling with the granary tablets, failing the great bath, kneeling before a shrine you don't understand, have woven a noose, and now it tightens. You're the priest king, but the title is a mockery, a crown of thorns you never asked to wear. A low drumbeat begins, faint at first, like a pulse beneath the city's skin. It's coming from the northern quarter, steady, deliberate, each thump a step closer. You strain your eyes, but the mist swallows the streets, and all you see are flickers of torchlight, like fireflies swarming with intent. The guards who escorted you earlier are gone, their spears nowhere in sight. You're alone, or so you think, until a shadow shifts behind you. You turn, heart-lurching, and see her, a girl no older than 15, her hair braided with threads of red wool, her eyes wide and unblinking, like polished jet. She wears a simple skirt, but around her wrist is a copper bangle etched with a single eye, its pupil a deep, unnatural blue. She doesn't speak, only points to a narrow stair descending into the citadel's heart. You hesitate, but the drumbeat grows louder, and her gaze feels like a command. You follow her down the stairs, the air growing cooler, heavier, the walls closing in until you're sure they'll crush you. The scent of honey and blood returns, stronger now, mingling with something new. Myrrh, sharp and bitter, like grief distilled. The stairs end at a low doorway, its lintel carved with interlocking spirals that seem to writhe in the torchlight. The girl pushes aside a heavy curtain, and you step into a chamber that feels older than the city itself. The walls are black with soot, the floor inlaid with a mosaic of white shells forming a massive spiral. Its center a single red stone that pulses faintly, or perhaps that's just your fear. In the middle of the room stands a low altar, and on it a clay figure of a seated man, his head crowned with horns, his eyes hollow sockets that seem to follow you. "This is the Lord of Beasts," the girl whispers, her voice soft but clear, like water over pebbles. "He sees what the gods cannot." You stare at the figure, its stillness unnerving, its horned crown glinting with flecks of gold. You've heard no stories of this deity, no whispers of his name, but his presence is a weight, a tether to something ancient and unforgiving. The girl kneels, her bangle catching the light, the blue eye gleaming like a warning. "You must offer him something," she says, "before they come." You swallow, your mouth dry as ash. Offer what? You have nothing, no grain, no gold, only your fear and the mistakes piling up like debts. The drumbeat is closer now, vibrating through the floor, and you hear voices, angry, desperate, rising from the streets. The northern quarter is here, and you're trapped in this subterranean shrine with a girl who seems to know too much. You search the room, your eyes darting over the altar, the spiral mosaic, the blackened walls. A small bronze knife lies beside the clay figure, its blade etched with tiny bowls, their horns sharp as needles. You pick it up, the metal cold against your palm, and the girl's eyes narrow. "Not blood," she says quickly, as if reading your thoughts. He wants truth. Truth? You almost laugh, a bitter sound that dies in your throat. What truth do you have? That you're a fraud, a stranger stumbling through a world that rejects you? You turn the knife over in your hands, its weight grounding you despite the chaos in your mind. The drumbeat is a roar now, the voices a tide crashing against the citadel's walls. You think of your modern life, deadlines, screens, the hum of air conditioning, and how small it seems, how useless. There, you could hide behind excuses, delegate blame, scroll past consequences. Here, Harappa strips you bare. It's gods and people demanding you face what you've done. You think of Lilitu, her shallow breaths, the child's humming. You think of the man with the maimed hand, his quiet fury. You think of the woman's spiral tattoo, the scribe's clouded eye, the shadow in the great bath. They're all pieces of a puzzle you can't solve, but the girl's words echo. He wants truth. You kneel before the altar, the knife still in your hand, and the red stone in the mosaic seems to flare. I don't belong here, you whisper, the words spilling out before you can stop them. I'm not your priest king. I don't know your gods, your symbols, your people. I've failed them, and I don't know how to fix it. The confession feels like a blade in your chest, raw and final. But the clay figure doesn't move. Its hollow, eyes unyielding. The girl watches, her bangles blue, eyes seeming to blink, though you know it's impossible. Truth is a start, she says, but it's not enough. She steps closer, her braid swinging, and you notice her shadow doesn't match her movements. It stretches too long, too thin, like it belongs to someone else. The voices outside are a storm now, fists pounding on the citadel's gates. The drumbeat, a heartbeat that shakes the walls. You stand, the knife slipping from your fingers, clattering against the mosaic. The girl doesn't flinch, only points to the altar again. Give him your fear, she says, or they'll take it from you. Your fear? It's all you have left, a churning, living thing that's kept you awake through Harappa's endless nights. But how do you offer something so intangible? You think of the northern quarter, their hunger, their rage. You think of the goddess's blank face, the unicorn seal's accusing eye. You think of a lord of beasts, his horns gleaming, his silence a demand. You reach into your wrap, your fingers brushing against a small knot of cloth you hadn't noticed before. Inside is a single carnelian bead, its surface carved with a spiral, like the woman's necklace, like the shrine's floor. You don't know how it got there, but it feels alive, warm against your skin. You place it on the altar, beside the clay figure, and the red stone in the mosaic flares again, brighter, hotter. The drumbeat falters, just for a moment, and the voices outside seem to hush. The girl smiles, but it's not a kind smile. It's sharp knowing, like she's seen this moment before. He accepts, she says, for now. For now? You want to demand what that means, but the chamber trembles, dust sifting from the ceiling, and you know time is running out. The girl leads you back up the stairs, her steps silent, her shadow still wrong, trailing like a cloak. The citadel's platform is empty when you emerge, but the city below is alive with chaos. Torches bob in the streets, their flames licking the mist, and the northern quarter's crowd surges toward the gates, their shouts a raw, animal sound. You see the man with the maimed hand at their head, his brown cloak billowing, his scarred fingers raised like a banner. They're not just here for grain, they're here for you. The girl tugs your arm, her bangles blue, eye catching the torchlight. Face them, she says, or hide. But choose now. Hide? Where? The citadel is a maze, but it's no sanctuary. Face them? You're one against hundreds, a priest king who's already failed them. Your confession to the Lord of Beasts feels hollow now, the carnelian bead a fleeting gesture. You think of the knife you left behind, its bulls glaring. You think of the girl's shadow, the red stone's pulse. You think of your world, where you'd be safe behind screen, scrolling past this nightmare. But Harappa doesn't care about your regrets. The drumbeat resumes louder, faster, and the gates groan under the crowd's weight. You step toward the parapet, your legs trembling, the girl at your side. Her presence is a riddle, ally or judge, guide or trap. The crowd spots you, their shouts sharpening into a single word, repeated like a chant. Priest King. It's not reverence, it's a demand, a curse. The man with the maimed hand raises his arm, and the crowd stills, waiting. You open your mouth, but what can you say? That you're sorry? That you'll fix it? The Lord of Beasts might have taken your fear, but the northern quarter wants your blood. The girl's hand brushes yours, cold as the altar stone, and she whispers, "Speak, or they'll speak for you." You take a breath, the air sharp with myrrh and smoke, and step forward. The city's eyes on you. The spirals wait in your bones. Her wrap awaits, and you know, as the gates begin to splinter, that this night will carve you into its history, whether you survive it or not. Are you still awake? I truly hope so, because there's something special about drifting through this story together, quietly, slowly. If you're still listening, whisper to me, where are you right now, and how far have we come together? Don't fall asleep just yet. The most mysterious part is still waiting for us ahead. The Citadel's parapet feels like the edge of the world, its bricks biting into your palms as you grip the ledge, staring down at the northern quarter's torchlit mob. Their chant, Priest King, cuts through the night, a blade of sound that slices deeper with each repetition. The man with the maimed hand stands at their forefront, his scarred fingers raised, his eyes locked on you, unyielding as the dry riverbed he showed you. The girl with the blue-eyed bangle lingers at your side, her touch cold, her whisper, "Speak, or they'll speak for you," still ringing in your ears. The gates below groan, splintering under the crowd's relentless pounding, and the air chokes with the acrid bite of pitch and the sweet decay of overripe fruit trampled in the streets. You're the Priest King, but you're no savior. You're a stranger, your every choice, failing the great bath, starving the northern quarter, offering a bead to the Lord of Beasts, a misstep in a dance you don't know. You open your mouth, your throat raw, the words clawing to escape. "I hear you," you shout, your voice cracking against the drumbeat's pulse. The crowd quiets, but it's not relief. It's a predator pausing before the strike. The man with the maimed hand lowers his arm, his cloak fluttering like a tattered wing. "Hear us," he calls back, his voice carrying a bitter laugh. "You've fed the priests. You've starved our children. What do you hear, Priest King?" The crowd roars, their torches flaring, and you feel the girl's gaze, her bangles blue, eye glinting like a star fallen to earth. You want to explain the granary's tablets, the symbols you couldn't read, the spiral disc you offered. But explanations are as useless here as a dead phone battery in your world. The gates buckle with cracking like bones, and the crowd surges forward, spilling into the Citadel's courtyard. You see their faces now, haggard, furious, etched with hunger's cruel hand. A woman with a child on her hip screams something you can't make out, her voice swallowed by the mob's tide. You turn to the girl, desperate for guidance, but she stepped back, her braid swaying, her shadow stretching long and wrong, like it's reaching for the torches below. "You chose to speak," she says, her voice soft but sharp, like a blade wrapped in silk. "Now live with it." Live? You're not sure you will. The mob is climbing the Citadel's ramps, their footsteps a thunder that shakes the bricks beneath you. You stumble back from the parapet, your heart a frantic drum against your ribs. The Citadel's corridors beckon, a maze of shadows and torchlit walls, but running feels like surrender, and you're tired of failing. You think of the Lord of Beasts, his hollow eyes, the carnelian bead you left on his altar. You confessed your truth. "I don't belong here," but it wasn't enough. Nothing is enough in Harappa, where every choice is a debt, every debt a judgment. The girl watches, her bangles eye unblinking, and you wonder who she is. Not just a guide, not just a child. Her shadow moves before she does, slithering across the bricks like a snake. The mob's shouts grow closer, their torches casting wild flickers on the walls. You hear the clatter of spears, guards finally, but too few, their voices drowned by the crowd's rage. You turn to the girl, your voice hoarse. "What do I do?" She tilts her head, her braid falling over one shoulder, and points to a small bronze gong hanging from the parapet's edge, its surface etched with a tree, its branches spiraling like the symbols you've come to dread. "Sound it," she says. "Call the council. But know this, they'll demand a price." A price? You've already given your fear, your truth, your pride. What's left? But the mob's footsteps are a heartbeat now, and you have no time to question. You seize the gong's mallet, its handle worn smooth by hands long gone, and strike. The sound is a wail, deep and mournful, cutting through the night like a mother's cry. The mob falters, their shouts fracturing, and you strike again, the vibration humming through your bones. The girl nods, her shadow coiling tighter, and you hear new footsteps, swift, disciplined, approaching from the citadel's depths. The council, or so you hope. You strike the gong a third time, and the mob stops, their torches a sea of flame held at bay. The man with the maimed hand steps forward, alone, his scarred fingers clenched. "You call your masters," he spits. "They won't save you." Before you can answer, figures emerge from a corridor behind you. 3 men, their robes dyed deep indigo, their heads shaved, each wearing a bronze circlet etched with the same tree as the gong. The leader is older, his skin like weathered parchment, his eyes sunken but fierce, like embers buried in ash. He carries a staff topped with a bronze bull's head, its horns gleaming. "You've sounded the call," he says, his voice low, resonant, like the gong's echo. "Speak your case, priest king." The title stings, a reminder of your failures, but you straighten. The girl's presence at your side, a strange anchor. You glance at the mob, their torches steady now, their eyes fixed on you. The man with the maimed hand watches, his silence more dangerous than his words. You take a breath, the air thick with pitch and myrrh, and speak. "The northern quarter starves," you say, your voice steadier than you feel. "I didn't know the tablet's meaning. I didn't choose to favor the priests. I want to make it right." The words feel fragile, like clay before the kiln, but they're all you have. The council leader's eyes narrow, his staff tapping the bricks once, twice. "Ignorance is no defense," he says. "You bear the seal. You bear the blame." The mob stirs, their murmurs rising, but the leader raises his hand, and they fall silent. "The council will hear you," he says, "but not here." He gestures to the corridor, and the other 2 counselors step forward, their circlets glinting. You hesitate, glancing at the girl, but she's gone, her shadow lingering for a moment before vanishing. The mob parts as the council leads you back into the citadel, the man with the maimed hand watching, his scarred fingers twitching. You feel his gaze like a blade at your back, promising this isn't over. The council takes you to a chamber high in the citadel, its walls lined with shelves of clay tablets, their surfaces crowded with symbols. A single lamp burns, casting long shadows that dance like specters. The air smells of dust and old wax, and the floor is inlaid with a tree mosaic, its branches spiraling into a single red eye at the center. You think of the girl's bangle, the lord of beasts, the endless spirals that haunt this city. The leader sits on a low bench, his staff across his knees, while the other 2 stand, their faces unreadable. You've called us, the leader says, but the northern quarter's hunger is your doing. What do you offer to mend it? You want to scream that you have nothing, that you're not their priest king, but the red eye in the mosaic seems to pulse, and you feel the weight of Harappa's gods, its people, its history. You think of Lilitu, her child's humming, the dry riverbed, the blank-faced goddess. You think of your world, where you dodge this with a vague promise or a quick exit. Here, there's no escape. I'll give the northern quarter the grain. You say, the word's heavy, final. Take it from the priests, from the southern quarter. Balance the scales. The leader's eyes flicker, and the other counselors exchange glances. The priests are the god's voice. One says, his voice sharp, like flint striking steel. You defy them? Defy them? You've already defied everything. Your fear, your ignorance, your place in this world. But the leader leans forward, his staff's bull, head catching the light. The gods demand balance, he says, but they also demand sacrifice. If you take from a priest's, you must give something of yourself. Your stomach twists. Sacrifice? Blood, life, something worse? You think of the bronze knife, the lord of beasts' hollow eyes. Before you can ask, the leader stands, his staff tapping the mosaic's red eye. Tomorrow you'll face the priests, he says. Bring your offering, or the northern quarter's wrath will be the least of your worries. He turns, the counselors following, leaving you alone in the chamber. The lamp flickers, the shadows coiling, and you hear the girl's voice, though she's nowhere in sight. They'll demand a price. You sink to the floor, the mosaic's eye staring up at you, and the distant drumbeat returns, softer now, but unrelenting. The air smells of myrrh and blood, and you know, as the night deepens, that Harappa's gods are closing in, their spirals tightening around your soul. The citadel's chamber feels like a tomb, its air stale with the scent of wax and ancient dust. The red-eyed mosaic tree glaring up at you from a floor. The council's words, bring your offering, or the northern quarter's wrath will be the least of your worries. Coil in your mind, tight as the spirals that haunt this city. You're alone now, the lamp's flame guttering, casting shadows that slither across the tablet-lined walls. Your promise to redirect grain from the priests to the northern quarter feels like a stone in your gut, heavy with consequences you can't yet see. You're the priest king, but the title is a chain, each link forged from your failures. The great bath's shadow, the granary's mismarked tablets, the mob's torches. The distant drumbeat from the northern quarter has faded, but its echo lingers in your bones, a reminder that Harappa never forgets. You rise, your legs unsteady, and stumble through the citadel's corridors, the air growing sharper, laced with the tang of salt and something metallic, like blood left to dry. Dawn is hours away, but sleep is a luxury you can't afford. The priests await you tomorrow, and the council's demand for a sacrifice gnaws at you. What do they want? Your blood, your life, or something less tangible, like the fear you gave to the Lord of Beasts? You think of the girl with the blue-eyed bangle, her wrong shadow, her cryptic warnings. She's gone, but her presence clings to you, a riddle you can't solve. The corridors twist, their brick walls narrowing, and you feel the city watching, its gods peering through every crack. A faint hum draws you to a small courtyard, its floor paved with bricks arranged in a spiral, their edges worn smooth by countless feet. At the center stands a single acacia tree, its branches bare, its trunk carved with symbols that pulse faintly in the moonlight. A figure kneels beneath it, cloaked in white, their head bowed. You hesitate, your breath catching, but they don't turn. The hum grows louder, a low chant that seems to rise from the earth itself. and you realize it's coming from them. You step closer, the bricks cold underfoot, and the figure lifts their head, revealing a face you don't expect. A woman, her skin dark as polished ebony, her eyes lined with coal that glints like wet stone. She wears a headdress of bronze discs, each etched with a tiny flame, and around her neck hangs a pendant shaped like a wheel, its spokes radiating like a sun. "You're late," she says, her voice smooth but edged, like a river hiding sharp rocks. You blink, startled. She's not the woman from the granary, but her tone carries the same weight, the same expectation. She rises, her cloak falling open to reveal a robe dyed crimson, its hem embroidered with threads of gold that catch the moonlight. "The priests know what you've done," she says, stepping closer, the wheel pendant swaying. "They've called for you at the House of Fire." The House of Fire? You've heard no mention of it, but the name sends a shiver through you, conjuring images of flames and ash, of offerings burned to gods you don't know. She gestures to the acacia tree, its carved symbols glowing faintly, like embers under a breath. "This is the tree of breath," she says. "It speaks to the gods of fire and wind. Touch it, and they'll see you." You hesitate, your hand hovering, the memory of the bull's red eyes and the unicorn seal's accusing stare still fresh. Every symbol in her rappa is a trap, a test you're doomed to fail. But the woman's gaze is unrelenting, and the hum from the tree grows louder, vibrating in your chest. You press your palm against the trunk, and it's warm, pulsing, as if blood flows beneath the bark. The symbols flare, their light searing your eyes, and for a moment, you see flames distant, hungry, curling around a city that isn't Harappa, a city of smoke and ruin. You pull back, gasping, the woman's hand steadying you. "The gods are restless," she says, her pendants wheel seeming to spin, though you know it still. Your choice to feed the northern quarter has stirred them. The priests guard the fire, and they won't yield easily. You want to ask why, what the fire means, but her eyes hold you, and you feel the weight of her words, the weight of this city's endless demands. She leads you from a courtyard, her bronze discs clinking softly, and you follow, the hum of the tree fading but never leaving you. The corridors open to a wider street, its bricks slick with dew, and you smell smoke, not the comforting scent of a hearth, but something sharper, like bone charred to ash. The House of Fire looms at the city's southern edge, a squat structure of black stone, its roof flat and ringed with bronze braziers that glow red, their flames licking the dawn's first light. The air here is heavy, thick with the scent of molten metal and something sweeter, like fat sizzling on coals. A crowd of priests waits at the entrance, their robes white but stained with soot, their heads shaved, their eyes hard as flint. At their center stands a man you recognize, the scarred man from your first night, his forehead-to-chin scar gleaming like a river under the firelight. He holds a bronze rod topped with a flame-shaped finial, its edges sharp enough to cut. "Priest King," he says, his voice a low growl, "you've come to answer." You step forward, the woman at your side, her wheel pendant a faint warmth against the morning's chill. The priest's part, revealing a doorway that leads into darkness, the air within pulsing with heat. You feel the northern quarter's hunger behind you, the council's demand for sacrifice above you, the god's gaze all around you. The scarred man gestures to the doorway. "The fire will judge you," he says, echoing his words from the great bath. But this time, there's no water to hide in, only flame. You think of your modern world, air-conditioned offices, the hum of a laptop, the safety of distance. Here, there's no screen to shield you, no log-out button. Harappa burns away your excuses. The woman whispers, her breath warm against your ear. Offer the fire your will, she says, or it will take your life. Your will? The idea is as vague as the Lord of Beasts' demand for truth, but the heat from the doorway is real, pressing against your skin like a living thing. You think of the tree of breath, its pulsing warmth, the vision of a burning city. You think of the northern quarters mob, the girl's blue-eyed bangle, the red-eyed bull on your wall. Everything in Harappa demands something you don't know how to give. The scarred man steps closer, his rod's flame casting shadows that dance like demons. Enter, he says, or we'll drag you. You cross the threshold, the heat wrapping around you, the air shimmering with sparks. The chamber is vast, its ceiling lost in smoke, its floor a mosaic of flames and wheels, their lines glowing like molten bronze. At the center burns a fire pit, its flames blue at the core, fed by logs that don't seem to burn. The priests follow, their chants rising, a low drone that makes your teeth ache. The woman stays at your side, her pendant's wheel spinning in the firelight. Or perhaps that's your dizziness. You feel the fire's hunger, not for wood, but for you, for the will she spoke of, for the choices you've made and those you've avoided. The scarred man raises his rod, and the flames flare, their heat searing your lungs. You've taken from us, he says. You've given our grain to the northern quarter. The fire demands balance. Balance, Harappa's cruel obsession. It's God's unyielding law. You want to argue, to say you were trying to right a wrong, but the fire's roar drowns your thoughts, and the priest's chants grow louder, their words incomprehensible, but heavy with intent. You think of Lilith's shallow breaths, the man with the maimed hand, the council's red-eyed mosaic. You think of your world, where you'd sidestep this with a vague email, a quick deflection. Here, the fire sees through you. You kneel, the mosaic's glowing lines burning through your skin, and the woman's hand rests on your shoulder, her touch cold despite the heat. Speak your will, she whispers. You don't know what she means, but the words come, raw and unbidden. I want the northern quarter to eat, you say, your voice hoarse. I want the city to live, not just the priests. If that's my will, take it. The flames surge, blue turning white, and the priest's chants falter. The scarred man's scar twists as he grimaces, his rod trembling. The woman's pendant spins, its wheel a blur, and you feel something leave you, not blood, not life, but a piece of your resolve, your certainty, burned away in the fire's heart. The flames subside, the air cooling, the mosaic's glow fading. The scarred man lowers his rod, his eyes narrow but no longer hostile. The fire accepts, he says, but his voice carries a warning, like a storm delayed but not gone. The woman steps back, her pendant still, her bronze disc silent. The priests disperse, their chants fading, and you're left kneeling, the fire pit's embers watching like eyes. You've given something, but you don't know what, and Harappa's spirals tighten, promising more trials, more debts. The woman leads you out, the dawn breaking over the city, the air sharp with smoke and salt. The priests are silent, but the scarred man's gaze follows you, and you know this isn't the end. Dawn breaks over Harappa, its light pale and unforgiving, casting long shadows that twist across the citadel's blackened stones. You stand outside the house of fire, the air sharp with a lingering bite of charred wood and molten bronze, your skin still tingling from the flames that devoured your will. The woman with the wheel pendant is gone, her crimson robe and spinning bronze discs a fading memory. But her words, the fire accepts, hang heavy, like damp cloth clinging to your bones. The scarred man's final glance, his scar gleaming like a warning, follows you as you stumble back through the city streets. You're the priest king, but the title is a wound, each step a reminder of what you've lost. Your courage in the great bath, your ignorance in the granary, your resolve in the fire. The northern quarter's hunger may be eased, but Harappa's gods are not sated, and you feel their gaze unblinking in the spirals that mark this city's soul. The streets are quiet now, the mob's torches extinguished, their drumbeat silenced, but the silence is worse, a held breath, a blade poised to fall. You smell the city waking, the sour tang of fermenting grain, the faint sweetness of baked clay cooling in the morning air. Your bare feet ache against the bricks, each one polished by centuries of steps, and you long for the softness of your modern world, carpet, sneakers, the hum of a coffee machine. But Harappa doesn't care for your nostalgia. It demands you stay, demands you face what's coming. And something is coming. You feel it in the way the air thickens, in the faint hum that rises from the ground, like the tree of breath's chant, but lower, hungrier. A boy appears at your side, silent as a shadow, his skin dusted with ash, his eyes too large for his gaunt face. He wears a tattered cloth around his waist, and on his chest, tied with a leather cord, hangs a small clay amulet shaped like a bird, its wings spread, its beak sharp as a needle. He doesn't speak, only beckons with a bony hand, his movements quick, urgent. You hesitate, your body heavy with exhaustion, but his eyes, dark, fathomless, pull you forward, like the current of a river you can't resist. You follow him through alleys, so narrow the walls graze your shoulders, the air growing cooler, damper, the scent of earth and moss replacing the city smoke. The hum grows louder, vibrating in your teeth, and you realize you're descending, the ground sloping toward something hidden beneath Harappa's surface. The boy leads you to a low archway, its bricks crumbling, its lintel carved with a frieze of birds, their wings interlocking in a pattern that mimics the spirals you've come to fear. Beyond the archway, a tunnel stretches, its walls slick with moisture, its air heavy with the smell of wet stone and something sharper, like iron left to rust. The boy pauses, his bird amulet glinting in the faint light of a torch he pulls from a niche. You must see, he whispers, his voice high and brittle, like a reed about to snap. See what? You want to ask, but the hum is a roar now, shaking the tunnel, and his urgency is a hook in your chest. You follow, the torch's flame casting shadows that dance like flocks of birds, their wings brushing the walls. The tunnel opens into a vast chamber, its ceiling so high it's lost in darkness, its floor a mosaic of black and white stones forming a giant bird, its wings spread wide, its eye a single polished obsidian disc that seems to pulse. At the chamber center stands a stone slab, stained dark with something you don't want to name, and above it, suspended from the ceiling, hangs a massive bronze cage, its bars etched with tiny birds, their beaks open as if screaming. The hum comes from the cage, or perhaps the slab, or the mosaic, you can't tell, but it fills you, makes your bones ache, your vision blur. The boy kneels before the slab, his amulet pressed to his lips, and you feel the weight of this place, its age, its hunger. This is the House of Wings, the boy says, his voice barely audible over the hum. The gods of the sky dwell here. They've seen what you've done. His words chill you, colder than the tunnel's damp air. The gods of the sky? You've faced water, fire, earth, now air, and each element seems to demand a piece of you. You think of a lord of beasts, the tree of breath, the fire's blue heart. Each took something, fear, truth, will. What does this place want? The boy rises, his amulet swinging, and points to the cage. They want your voice, he says. Give it, or they'll take it. Your voice? You touch your throat, the memory of shouting to the northern quarters mob still raw. Your voice is all you have left, the only way to plead, to explain, to survive. But the cage's hum is a command, and the mosaic's obsidian eye watches, unblinking. You step closer to the slab, the stains resolving into patterns, spirals, of course, etched in blood or something worse. The boy hands you a small clay cup, its rim crusted with a dark residue. Drink, he says, and speak to the gods. You stare at the cup, its contents black and viscous, smelling of copper and decay. Drink? Your stomach churns, but the boy's eyes are relentless, and the hum is a pressure against your skull, urging you to obey. You think of your failures, the shadow in the great bath, the northern quarters hunger, the priest's fire. You think of your modern world, where you'd avoid this with a quick excuse, a swipe of a screen. Here, there's no escape. You lift the cup, the liquid cold against your lips, and drink. It burns not like fire, but like ice, searing your throat, your chest, your soul. You gag, the cup falling, shattering on the mosaic, and the hum spikes, a scream that makes your ears bleed. The cage trembles, its bars rattling, and you see shapes inside, birds or something like them. Their wings too long, their eyes too human. They screech, a sound that tears through you, and you fall to your knees, clutching your throat. Speak, the boy says, his amulet glowing now, its bird seeming to flap its wings. You try, but your voice is gone, stolen by the drink, by the gods, by this cursed chamber. You mouth the words, I'm not your priest king, I don't belong here, but no sound comes. The boy shakes his head, his face unreadable, and the cage's birds grow louder, their screeches blending with the hum, forming a chorus that speaks your failures. You failed the water, the grain, the fire, and now us. You crawl toward the slab, the mosaic's obsidian eye burning into you, and you feel the gods of the sky, their wings sharp, their beaks poised to tear. The boy kneels beside you, his amulet pressed to your chest. They've taken your voice, he says, but they'll give you a choice. A choice? You want to laugh, but your throat is a void. He points to the cage, its bars glowing now, the birds inside still watching. Climb inside, he says, and join them. Or leave, and face the city voiceless. Join them? Become a cage thing, a god's pet? Or leave, unable to speak, unable to defend yourself against the priests, the northern quarter, the council? You think of Lilith's child, the man with the maimed hand, the woman's spinning wheel. You think of your world, where silence was safety, where you could hide behind texts and screens. Here, silence is death. You stand, your legs trembling, the mosaic's eye unyielding. The boy watches, his amulet's bird glaring. You move toward the cage, its bars warm under your hands. The birds inside silent now, their eyes locked on you. You could climb in, surrender, let the gods have you. Or you could walk away, face Harappa's wrath with no voice to plead. The hum softens, waiting, and you feel the city above, its spirals tightening, its god circling. You think of the scarred man's scar, the girl's wrong shadow, the fire's blue heart. You've given so much, fear, truth, will, voice. What's left? You step back, the cage's heat fading, and turn toward the tunnel. The boy's eyes widen, but he doesn't stop you. The mosaic's eye follows, the bird screeches rising as you climb the tunnel, the hum fading but never gone. You emerge into the city, the dawn brighter now, the air sharp with salt and smoke. Your throat is empty, your voice a memory, but you're still here, still walking Harappa streets. The priest will come, the northern quarter will judge, the gods will demand. You've chosen silence, But Harappa's spirals never rest, and as the city wakes, you know the gods of the sky are watching, their wings poised to strike. The morning sun claws at Harappa's bricks, its light harsh and unyielding, but it does nothing to warm the chill in your bones. You stumble through the city streets, your throat a hollow ache where your voice once lived, stolen by the gods of the sky in the house of wings. The boy's final words, "You've chosen silence," echo in your skull, sharper than the screeches of those caged bird-like things. Your bare feet drag across the smooth paving, each step heavy with the weight of your choices, fleeing the great bat's shadow, starving the northern quarter, burning your will in the fire, and now, surrendering your voice to a mosaic-eyed god. You're the priest king, but the title is a curse, a spiral tightening around your soul, and Harappa's streets feel like a labyrinth with no exit. The air is thick with the scent of baked clay and sour sweat, the city waking to its rhythms, cartwheels creaking, traders shouting, the distant clink of bronze weights. But you hear it all through a fog, your silence thrown a barrier between you and the world. People pass, their eyes sliding over you, some with pity, others with suspicion. You're no longer just a failed priest king. You're a mute one, marked by the god's judgment. You think of your modern world, text messages, voice notes, the safety of a screen to speak through. Here, silence is a wound, and you wear it like a brand. A shadow falls across your path, and you look up to see a man, his frame broad, his skin weathered like old leather. He wears a tunic of coarse wool, stained with clay, and his arms are corded with muscle, marked with faint scars that crisscross like a map. Around his neck hangs a cord strung with small polished stones, each carved with a crescent moon. His eyes are pale, almost gray, and they fix on you with an intensity that makes your skin prickle. "You're the one," he says, his voice low, gravelly, like stones grinding together. The voiceless king. He doesn't wait for a response. Good, since you can't give one, and gestures to a side street narrow and shadowed, where the air smells of damp earth and something sweeter, like overripe dates. You follow, not because you trust him, but because you have nowhere else to go. The priests are waiting, the northern quarter's anger simmers, and the council's demand for sacrifice looms. The man moves with purpose, his stone necklace clinking softly, and you notice his shadow is steady, unlike the girl's wrong one, but it feels heavy, as if it carries more than his weight. The street opens to a small plaza, its center dominated by a low platform of black stone, its surface etched with crescent moons that glow faintly, like the man stones. A crowd has gathered, smaller than the northern quarter's mob, but no less intense. Their faces a mix of curiosity and distrust. They wear simple cloths, their hands rough from labor. And you realize these are artisans, potters, weavers, smiths, people who build Harappa's lifeblood. The man climbs the platform, his presence commanding silence, and you stand below, feeling exposed, your silenced throat a betrayal. "This is your priest king," he says, his voice carrying across the plaza. "Chosen by the gods, marked by their will." The crowd murmurs, their eyes on you, and you want to shrink, to vanish into the bricks. Chosen? You're a fraud, a stranger who's lost everything to this city's spirals. The man raises a hand, the crescent moons on his necklace catching the sun. He's given his voice, he continues, but the gods of stone demand more. Today he faces the kiln. The kiln? Your stomach twists, the word conjuring heat, ash, the suffocating weight of the house of fire. You try to gesture, to ask what he means, but your hands are clumsy, your silence a cage. The man steps down, his pale eyes locking on yours, and he leans close, his breath warm with the scent of barley. "You've taken from priests," he says softly, "and fed the northern quarter. Now the artisans demand their due. The kiln will test you." Test you? You've been tested by water, fire, air, and each has stripped you bare. What does stone want? He leads you through the crowd. There whispers a tide that pushes you forward, and you enter a wide courtyard where a massive kiln looms, its clay dome blackened by years of flame. The air here is dry, sharp with the smell of scorched earth and molten silica, and the heat presses against you, a living thing that makes your skin tighten. Workers move around the kiln, their faces masked with cloth, their hands gloved in leather, feeding wood into its maw. The man points to a stack of clay tablets nearby, each etched with crescent moons and angular symbols. "These are our records," he says. "Our trade, our craft, our lives. You'll mark them, as priest king, to bless our work. But choose carefully, one mistake, and the kiln will judge." You stare at the tablets, their symbols as incomprehensible as those in the granary, and your silenced throat burns with frustration. You can't speak, can't ask for guidance, and the man's pale eyes offer no mercy. The crowd watches, their silence heavier than their whispers, and you feel the kiln's heat, its hunger, like the fire's blue heart, but older, slower, a god that grinds rather than burns. You think of the northern quarter's mob, the priest chants, the caged bird screeches. Every choice in Harappa is a trap, and this one feels like the deepest yet. You pick up a stylus, its bone shaft slick with your sweat, and approach the tablets. The man stands beside you, his stone necklace clinking, and you notice one of his scars, a deep gash across his forearm, shaped like a crescent moon, as if carved deliberately. "The gods of stone are patient," he says, "but they don't forgive." You nod, your hands trembling, and begin to mark the tablets, your strokes hesitant, guided by instinct rather than understanding. The crowd's eyes bore into you, the kiln's heat of pressure against your back, and you feel the man's presence, his scars a map of trials you can't imagine. Hours pass, or perhaps minutes. Time in Harappa is a spiral, looping endlessly. Your hand aches, your eyes blur from the heat, and the tablets pile up, each mark a gamble. The man watches, his pale eyes unreadable, and you wonder who he is. Not just an artisan, not just a leader. His scars, his stones, his steady shadow, they speak of something older, something tied to the kiln's heart. You think of the boy's bird amulet, the woman's wool pendant, the girl's blue-eyed bangle. Everyone in Harappa is a riddle, and you're the fool trying to solve them. You finish the final tablet, your stylus slipping, leaving a jagged mark that feels wrong. The man takes it, his fingers brushing yours, and his eyes narrow. "You've blessed the trade," he says, "but you've cursed the clay." Cursed? You try to gesture to explain, but your silence is a wall, and the crowd's murmurs rise, sharp with unease. The man turns to the kiln, its dome glowing now, the heat rolling out in waves. "The gods of stone will decide," he says, and the workers step back, their masked faces turn to you. The man leads you to the kiln's mouth, its opening a black void that pulses with red light. "Offer your trust," he says, his voice low, almost gentle, "or the kiln will take it." Trust? You've trusted nothing in Harappa, not the water, the fire, the air, the people. But the kiln's heat is real, its judgment imminent, and you feel the gods of stone, their weight crushing, their patience endless. You think of your modern world, where trust was a contract, a click of a button. Here, it's a leap into the dark. You step closer, the heat searing your lungs, and raise your hands, palms open, as if offering something you can't name. The kiln roars, its flames flaring, and the crowd gasps. their voices a chorus of fear and awe. The man's pale eyes soften just for a moment, and he nods. The gods accept, he says, but his tone carries a warning, like the scarred man's in the house of fire. The kiln's heat recedes, the flames settling, and you stumble back, your skin raw, your heart pounding. The crowd disperses, their whispers fading, and the man places a hand on your shoulder, his crescent scar glinting. Tomorrow, he says, the river calls. You leave the courtyard, the kiln's heat lingering in your bones, the man's stones clinking as he walks away. The city closes around you, it spirals everywhere, on bricks, on amulets, in the patterns of your failures. You've given your trust, or so the gods believe, but you feel no lighter. The river waits, and with it, new gods, new demands. Your silenced throat aches, your body trembles. And as the sun climbs higher, Harappa's gaze tightens. It spirals, promising no rest, no escape. Harappa's midday sun beats down, its heat a hammer, forging the city's bricks into a shimmering haze. You stumble from the kiln's courtyard, the man's parting words, tomorrow, the river calls, sinking into you like a stone in deep water. Your throat remains a silent void, your voice lost to the house of wings, and your trust, or what passed for it, burned away in the kiln's red maw. The scars of your failures, fleeing the great bath, starving the northern quarter, kneeling to fire, air, and stone, mark you as surely as the crescent scars on the artisan's arm. You're the priest king, but the title is a shroud, wrapping you in Harappa's endless demands. It spirals, coiling tighter with each step. The air smells of dust and river mud, and the city hums with life, cartwheels grinding, voices bartering. But you feel apart, a ghost in a world that rejects you. Your feet carry you toward the city's western edge, where the man said the river waits. The streets narrow, the bricks giving way to packed earth, and the scent of water grows stronger, mingling with the sharp tang of fish and the faint rot of reeds. You pass women balancing clay pots on their heads, their chatter falling silent as they see you, their eyes flicking to your mute throat, your haggard face. You want to scream, to tell them you're not their king, not their savior. But silence is your prison, and Harappa's gods are its wardens. You think of your modern world, muted group chats, ignored emails, the safety of anonymity. Here, every glance is a judgment, every silence a verdict. A figure steps into your path, small and wiry, cloaked in a gray shawl that blends with the dust. It's an old woman, her face a map of wrinkles, her eyes milky but sharp, like clouded quartz. She leans on a staff carved with fish, their scales spiraling into patterns that make your head ache. Around her wrist is a bracelet of river shells, each one pierced with a tiny hole, whistling faintly in the breeze. She doesn't speak at first, only stares, her gaze peeling you apart, seeing the voiceless fool beneath the priest king's mantle. You're going to the river, she says finally, her voice dry as the kiln's ash. Good. It's been waiting. You nod, unable to do more, and she hobbles forward, her staff tapping the earth. The shells whistle a soft, eerie song. You follow, your legs heavy, the city falling away as the ground slopes toward the river's edge. The hum of Harappa fades, replaced by the rush of water and the croak of frogs hidden in the reeds. The river appears wide and sluggish, its surface a dull bronze under the sun, its banks lined with willows whose branches droop like mourners. A small crowd has gathered, their clothes patched, their faces weathered by sun and want. These are river folk, fishers, boatmen, weavers of reed baskets, people who live by the water's grace, and you sense their eyes on you, heavy with expectation. The old woman leads you to a low platform jutting over the river, its stones stained green with algae, its edge carved with fish and waves, their forms spiraling into a single, unblinking eye at the center. A shrine stands at the platform's end, a squat pillar topped with a clay figure of a fish, its mouth open, its eyes two polished river pebbles that seem to glint with life. Offerings lie at its base, shells, dried fish, a braid of reeds tied with blue thread. "This is the river's child," the woman says, her shells whistling louder now, as if the river itself is singing. "It gives us life, but it takes, too. You've taken from the priests, given to the northern quarter, blessed the artisans. Now the river wants its due." Your stomach twists, the kiln's heat still lingering in your bones. The memory of the caged bird screeches sharp in your ears. Every god in Harappa demands a piece of you. Fear, truth will voice trust. And now the river, its surface deceptively calm, hides another test. The woman hands you a small net, its fibers coarse, its edges weighted with stones. "Cast it," she says. "Offer the river your fate, or it will claim you." Your fate? The word is a noose, tightening around the fragments of yourself you've already lost. You try to gesture, to ask what she means, but your silenced hands are clumsy, and her milky eyes offer no answers. The crowd watches, their silence heavier than the northern quarter shouts, and you step onto the platform, the stones slick underfoot. The river's eye, carved in the stone, stares up at you, its spiral echoing the fish figure's gaze. You grip the net, its weight unfamiliar, and cast it into the water, the stones pulling it under with a soft splash. The river ripples, then stills, and you wait, your heart pounding, the crowd's breath held. Nothing happens. The woman's shells whistle, the willows sway, and you think, for a moment, that you've passed, that the river has accepted your offering. Then the net tugs, sharp and sudden, nearly pulling you into the water. You brace yourself, hauling it back, your arms burning, the crowd murmuring now, their voices a low chant that matches the river's rush. The net surfaces, heavy with something that thrashes, its scales glinting silver under the sun. It's a fish larger than any you've seen, its body long and sinuous, its eyes red as the bowl on your wall, its mouth gaping, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth. The crowd gasps, stepping back, and the woman's staff taps the platform, her shells whistle, rising to a shriek. "The river's child has answered," she says. "It sees you, priest king. It knows your heart." You drop the net, the fish thrashing on the platform, its red eyes locked on you, its teeth snapping at the air. You want to run, to flee this cursed river, but the woman's gaze holds you, her staff's fish seeming to writhe. "Take it to the shrine," she says. "Offer it your fate, or it will take your life." Your fate, again, vague, terrifying, a demand you can't meet. You think of the kiln's heat, the caged bird's human eyes, the fire's blue heart. You've given so much, but Harappa's gods are insatiable, and the river's fish is their messenger, its red eyes a mirror of your failures. You kneel, your hands trembling, and lift the fish, its scales cutting your palms, its weight heavier than it should be. The crowd chants louder, their words incomprehensible, but thick with intent. And you carry the fish to the shrine, its thrashing slowing, its eyes never leaving yours. You place it at the clay figure's base, the river pebbles glinting, and the fish stills, its mouth closing, its scales dulling. The crowd falls silent, the woman's shells quieting, and you feel the river's eye, carved in the stone, boring into you. The river's child accepts, the woman says, but her voice is a warning, like the kiln's man, the scarred priest, the council's leader. but it demands a vow. A vow? You can't speak, can't ask what she means, but she steps closer, her milky eyes gleaming, and presses a shell into your hand, its surface carved with a spiral, its edge sharp enough to draw blood. Swear to protect the river, she says, or its children will hunt you. Protect the river? You've barely protected yourself, stumbling through Harappa's trials, losing pieces of your soul to its gods. But the fish's red eyes linger in your mind, and the river's rush feels alive, watching, waiting. You nod, clutching the shell, its edge biting your palm, and the woman smiles, her wrinkles deepening, her staff's fish seeming to nod. The crowd disperses, their chants fading, and the woman leads you from the platform, the river's eye following you, its spiral a brand on your heart. The fish lies still at the shrine, but you feel its gaze, its teeth, as if it's swimming in your blood. The city closes around you, its bricks warm underfoot, its air thick with dust and fish. You've sworn a vow, but you don't know what it means, and the river's children, those red-eyed fish, seem to whisper in the water's rush, promising to return. The priests, the northern quarter, the artisans, they all wait, their demands unanswered. And as the sun climbs higher, Harappa's spirals tighten, its gods circling closer, their hunger unending. You clutch the shell, its spiral warm against your skin, and walk back toward the citadel. Your silenced throat a constant ache, your body a map of losses. The river's vow is a chain, linking you to this city's fate. And you know, as the willow shadows stretch across the banks, that Harappa's gods are not done with you. The air smells of mud and blood, and the river's rush follows you, a song of judgment that drowns out the city's hum, promising no rest, no escape. The sun hangs low over Harappa, a swollen eye bleeding red across the horizon, its light staining the city's bricks with the hue of sacrifice. You stand at the heart of the citadel, on a raised dais carved with spirals that pulse like veins under your bare feet. The shell from the river, its edge still sharp with your blood, burns in your clenched fist, a reminder of the vow you swore to protect the river's child. Your throat is a silent scar, your voice lost to the house of wings, your will, trust, and fear scattered across Harappa's altars, water, fire, stone, air, and river. You're the priest king, but the title is a pyre, and you're the offering, burning in the gaze of a city that demands everything. The air is thick with the scent of myrrh and dried blood, and the city hums, a low, relentless drone that weaves the northern quarter's hunger, the priest's wrath, the artisan's labor, and the river's whisper into a single, suffocating thread. You've survived 9 trials, each stripping you bare, but survival is not victory. The maw of Harappa's gods yawns wider, and the maw is the city itself. It spirals a map of your failures. The shadow in the great bath, the granary's cursed tablets, the fire's hunger, the caged bird screeches, the kiln's judgment, the river's red-eyed fish. The northern quarter's anger has eased with your promise of grain. The priest's fire has relented. The artisan's tablets are marked, and the river's vow binds you. But peace is a lie. The council's demand for sacrifice lingers, and you feel it now, a weight heavier than the citadel's walls, as a crowd gathers around the dais. Their faces a sea of eyes, some hungry, some reverent, some cold as the river's depths. A figure emerges from the throng, not the scarred man, nor the woman with the wheel pendant, nor the boy with the bird amulet, but someone new, someone who feels ancient, as if Harappa's bricks were born from their breath. It's a person of indeterminate age, their body draped in a cloak of woven reeds, their face half hidden by a mask of polished bone, its surface etched with a single, spiraling eye that seems to spin. They carry a staff topped with a bronze spiral, its curves glinting like a serpent's coil, and their presence silences the crowd, the hum of the city fading to a held breath. Priest King, they say, their voice neither male nor female, but a chorus, like wind through 1,000 reeds. You've given much, but Harappa demands all. The spiral of the first demands your choice. The spiral of the first? You've heard no mention of it, but the name sends a shiver through you, colder than the great bat's water, hotter than the kiln's flames. The masked figure raises their staff, and the dais trembles, the carved spirals glowing, their light pooling like blood. The crowd steps back, and you see it now, a trapdoor in the dais, its edges seamless until this moment, opening to reveal a staircase descending into darkness. The air that rises from it smells of loam and iron, of secrets buried deeper than the river's bed. The spiral waits, the figure says, their bone masks eye spinning faster, to judge your heart. Choose, descend and face it, or stay and let Harappa consume you. Your heart pounds, the shell in your hand cutting deeper, its spiral a mirror of the dais's glow. Descend? Into what? Another god, another test, another piece of you torn away? Or stay, and face the city's wrath, the northern quarter's hunger, the priest's fire, the river's fish, all spiraling back to claim you? You think of your modern world, where choices were clicks, swipes, excuses, typed in haste. Here, every choice is a blade, and you've bled for each one. The crowd watches, their eyes await, and you feel the city's gods, water, fire, air, stone, river, circling, their hunger a chorus in the masked figure's voice. You've sworn to protect the river, blessed the artisans, fed the northern quarter, but Harappa is a beast that feeds on you, and the spiral of the first is its heart. You step toward the trapdoor, the staircase yawning like a throat, and the figure's mask tilts, the spiraling eye unblinking. Your heart, they say, is all you have left. Offer it or lose it. Your heart? Not blood, not life, but the core of you. Your intent, your essence, the last fragment of the person you were before Harappa's spirals claimed you. You think of Lilith's child, humming by her mother's side, the man with the maimed hand, the girl's wrong shadow, the red-eyed fish. You've given everything else, fear, truth, will voice, trust, fate. To give your heart is to surrender entirely, to become Harappa's, forever. To refuse is to defy the city, to stand as an outsider. But at what cost? The crowd's silence is a pressure, the dais's spirals burning brighter, and you feel the moral weight of this final choice. To descend is to accept Harappa's claim, to offer your heart to a city that devours, to become one with its gods, its people, its endless hunger. To stay is to reject it, to cling to the stranger you are, but the city will not forgive. The northern quarter will starve again, the priest will burn you, the river's fish will hunt, and the spiral of the first will find you, one way or another. You understand now why you wouldn't last a day as priest king. Harappa doesn't want you to survive. It wants you to dissolve, to feed its spirals, to fuel its eternity. You kneel at the trapdoor's edge, the shell falling from your hand, its spiral glinting one last time before rolling into the darkness below. The masked figure watches, their staff's bronze coil glowing, and you feel the city's pulse, its god's gaze, its people's need. You could stay, could stand and face the crowd, silent and defiant, letting Harappa's wrath carve you apart. Or you could descend, offer your heart, and let the spiral of the first decide what remains. The choice is yours, but it's no choice at all. Harappa has woven you into its web, and every path leads to its center. You rise, your legs trembling, and step onto the staircase, the darkness swallowing you as the trapdoor closes above. The air is cold, heavy with the scent of earth and bone, and the hum of the city follows, softer now, a lullaby of judgment. The staircase spirals, of course, its walls carved with eyes, bulls, fish, trees, wheels, all the symbols that have haunted you, their forms blurring into a single endless coil. You descend, each step a surrender, and the hum grows louder, joined by whispers, not human, but something older, something that knows your name, though you've never spoken it. At the spiral's end, you find a chamber, its walls alive with glowing spirals, their light pulsing like a heartbeat. At its center stands a stone figure, neither man nor beast, its face a blank void, its body wrapped in coils that seem to move. This is the spiral of the first, Harappa's first god, its final judge. You kneel, your heart a frantic drum, and the whispers become a voice, clear and cold. Give us your heart, or we take it. You think of the city above, its people, its gods, its endless hunger. You think of your failures, your losses, your fleeting hopes. You think of your modern world, a dream you can't return to, and you understand. To live in Harappa is to die, piece by piece, until nothing remains. You press your hands to your chest, as if you could offer your heart like a clay tablet, and the spirals flare, their light blinding, their heat searing. The figure's void face shifts, and you see yourself in it, not your face, but your choices, your fears, your broken vows. You give your heart, not with words, not with blood, but with acceptance, letting Harappa claim you, letting its spirals rewrite you. The whispers fade, the light softens, and the figure stills, its coils settling. You've chosen, and the spiral of the first accepts, but you're no longer you. You're Harappa's, a thread in its endless weave, a name lost to its bricks. You climb the staircase, or perhaps it climbs you, and emerge into the citadel. The crowd gone, the masked figure vanished, the day is dark. The city is quiet, its hum a faint echo, and you walk its streets, your silenced throat no longer a wound, your heart no longer yours. You've survived, but survival is surrender, and you know now why you wouldn't last a day. Harappa doesn't let you live as yourself. It reshapes you, consumes you, makes you its own. The air smells of myrrh and river mud, and the spirals watch, their glow fading as night falls. Sleep well, if you can, curled in your blankets, safe in your world of screens and noise. But if you hear a hum, soft and spiraling, or see a shadow coil across your wall, don't look too long. The spiral of the first might be watching, and it's always hungry.